David, thank you for joining me in this how to play video of Splendor. If you haven't had a chance yet, please check out our review video and our playthrough. Splendor is part of our project to do videos on the top 100 family games as rated by Board Game Geek users. Behind me is a sample of the top 20 family games, and Splendor, as of September 2019, is in the top 20. We'll see if that will continue depending on when you watch this video. So first I'm going to do an overview of the game, the object of the game, and then how to set it up depending on the number of players. And we're going to do a two-player setup, and then I'll show some sample turns. So the object of Splendor is basically a race game. The players are racing to score the most prestige points. And so you are Renaissance merchants acquiring development cards to turn raw materials, raw gems, into actually finished gems. So you're going to acquire resources such as mines, transportation methods, and artisans on these cards using these tokens. And so you could, if you're following along with the rules here, here's the overview, talks about the tokens and the development, and now I'm going to do the setup. And by the way, the prestige points are shown on the cards here and on nobles, which I'll explain how you acquire those as well. So here's the setup. Doesn't matter how many players in the game, you're going to reveal 4 of the level 1 development cards. You'll see that these are mines. These are all mines right here. Then here on level 2 are artisans, and you see that one's worth 1 prestige point. That one's worth 2. 1 and 2, and this mine's worth 1 prestige point. Here is a level 3, and you might see some transportation methods on some of these. So it doesn't matter if you're playing with 2 players or 4 players, you will have 4 development cards for each row here. Okay, and then the number of nobles you'll have is the number of players plus 1. So for a 2-player setup, we're only going to have 3 nobles. But if you're playing with 4 players, you would have 5 nobles. So you'll see here this noble is worth 3, and as well as these 2. I'll explain how you acquire nobles. So here are your level 1 cards, level 2 cards, and level 3 development cards. Now chips, there's a possible 7 chips. You would play with all 7 in a 4-player game, but with a 2-player game, you're only going to play with 4 each. So you'll have to remove 3. And you'll play with all the gold. So you have onyx, sapphire, emeralds, diamonds, and rubies, and you'll use these tokens to acquire development cards. Now, if you want to see where that is in the rules for a different number of players, it's on the first page here. Game with 2 or 3 players, it goes over it right there. All right, so now we've set it up. So it's a basically you're building an engine, acquiring your development cards so that it will make it cheaper to get to more valuable cards. So let me explain that mechanic here. So in order to acquire these cards, for instance, this one right here is very expensive. You would need 7 emeralds and 3 rubies. But that would be very difficult to acquire because there are only 4 emeralds in the game, and gold is wild, so you could have 3 wild gold to act as emeralds, and then you could get 3 rubies. But that would be hard to get in a 2-player game because the other opponent might be holding on to emeralds as well. So how do you do that? Well, when you get development cards, they also act as tokens. So if I were to have acquired these 2 cards here, they were in my player area. That means I've bought them on previous turns. That means I bought this one on previous turn for 2 sapphires and 1 emerald. And then I also bought this card with 1 diamond, 1 sapphire, 1 emerald, and 1 onyx. And then I had, let's say, these cards as well. And I was already on my way to getting 15 development, 15 prestige points. So if I had that, now to acquire this card, I would only need 4 more emeralds and 1 more ruby. So if I did have these tokens, on my turn, I take tokens, which I'll explain in a minute, or I purchase a card. So this card would be up here, and I would say on my turn, I'm going to spend 3 rubies. These 2 are part of my development, so I basically have these every round now for free. So this would be 2 plus 1, 3 rubies. And then I would have 6 emeralds plus a gold, which acts as a wild. And so then I could buy this card and then add it right here. So now I would have 9 prestige points. Now, this is how you get a noble. As soon as I have 4 development cards with rubies, 4 rubies on it, and development cards with 4 emeralds, this noble will come to me at the end of my turn. So I would just need to get another ruby here, and then have another emerald. You don't use tokens to get nobles. You have to have development cards for nobles to come to you. So if I had 4 development cards of rubies and 4 of emeralds, this noble would come to me. Now let's say I qualified for 2 development cards. I'm sorry, 2 nobles. At the end of my turn, I would get to choose which one to acquire. So I'd either get this one or this one. And then so I'd say I got that one first, and then at the next turn, if this one was still available, the other players didn't get it, then I can acquire it on my following turn. So that's something to remember. You can only acquire 1 noble on your turn, even if you have enough development cards to get both of them on that turn. So let me set this back up again here. So that's the basic thing you're trying to do, is acquire prestige points through development cards. And your actions in the game, you either acquire cards or you take tokens. So what do you do with tokens? Well, with tokens, here's a special rule here. You have to have at least 4 tokens to take 2 of a kind. So right now in the very first part of the game, the first player can take 2 rubies or 2 diamonds or 2 emeralds or 2 sapphires or 2 onyx. I'll explain how you get gold in a moment. However, if there's 3 or less, you can only take 1 of them. So let's say the first player took these 3, because you either take 3 tokens that are different or 2 of a kind if the pile has at least 4. So let's say Julie's going first. She takes these 3. She adds it to her area. She has these available to use later to purchase something. And then now it's my turn. So on my turn, I look at, well, I could take 2 sapphire or 2 onyx if I really want to, or I could take 3 different ones as long as they're all different. Now I'm going to look right here, and I'm going to basically decide, okay, what am I going to go for here? Am I going to try to, in other words, I'm going to look at what nobles I might try to get. So I definitely need rubies. The only thing, here's an interesting thing, is onyx isn't worth much for these nobles. So I might not want to go for any onyx at all. So emeralds is the most common. So I'm going to try to get the emerald cards here. In order to do that, I'm still going to need onyx to get this one, and it's worth 1 prestige. So I'm going to take 2, because I could take 2 if there's 4 in the pile. So I do that, and I add it here. So it's very simple. After it's set up, when each player takes turns, they either take tokens, or they spend their tokens with their development cards to acquire more cards, hopefully getting prestige points, or they can take a card with a gold to save that card for another turn in case they were worried that a player would purchase that card before them. So let me explain. So let's say Julie's going, and she sees that I'm going for this card. And so even though she did not acquire any onyx, she's going to try to ruin my plans. She'll go, all right, I'm going to make sure that David doesn't get this card. So she takes a gold, and she takes the card, she adds it to her hand. So she puts it right here, She hasn't purchased it yet, but she can purchase it later. So when she's ready, when she does have 4 onyx or a combination of gold and onyx, she can flip this card over and purchase it as her action. So right now, she's prevented me from getting that card. So that's where the player interaction comes in this game, is you try to thwart other people's plans by acquiring cards that they might be going for, because we're all going for the same nobles. And so Julie's figured out as well that emeralds is the best gem to get, because all 3 nobles need emeralds. Now the other nobles will be different. Again, I just picked up 3 randomly. You'll see here, these need onyx. But the 3 that I got did not need any onyx, so it's just the luck of the draw. But they're all worth 3 points. So Julia thwarted my plans. So at the end of her turn, she flips up the next card. So, and one other rule that I need to mention is that you can only have up to 10 chips or 10 tokens at one time. You can draw over 10, but then you must return any chips that exceeded 10. So that's your hand limit, so to speak, and you can only have up to 3 of these cards pocketed, so to speak. You cannot get a 4th card, so that means it would be difficult to get more than 3 gold, unless you had 3 gold, purchased a card, and then you didn't spend that gold, and you could get more gold. But the point is, it's very unusual for people to have more than 3 gold, because it's unusual to have more than 3 cards and then buy a card and get a 4th one, blah, blah, blah. All right, so it's my turn. So Julie messed me up. So I have these 2 onyx here, and I'm looking at what I can go for. It's difficult to go for these early on in the game until you have some development cards. It's easier to do that when you're playing a 3 or 4 player game, because there's more chips to acquire. But we have a limited chip supply here, or token supply here, with a 2-player game. So since I already got 2, I could get, see, Julie has one of the rubies, so I'll take a ruby, because I want to try to go for this emerald then, and this one, and then I'll just get another token that I can maybe use to get, well, I guess I'll take an emerald. So I add this to my area. Notice I have now 5 chips. I can only acquire 5 more. So Julie goes now, and she's looking at here, well, I got this card. I guess I'm going to be holding it on for a while because there's not enough onyx in the supply, because she knows I have 2, and there's 2 here. But you know what? She's going to maybe try to get that. She'll take this and this, because she could go for that diamond there. So she adds that to here. So she now has 3, 6, 7. So now it's my turn. Okay, this is what I have. I'm going to try to get this card here, but I need another ruby. So I'll take a ruby. And I might be thinking ahead of what I want to go for later. So I'll take a diamond and another emerald. Actually, I'll take a sapphire. All right, so I have 2, 4, 6, 8 tokens. I've only acquired 2 more next turn. I could take 3 and return 1. All right, so let's take what Julie's doing. Can she acquire this yet? No. So actually, this would be flipped over. She'd be looking at it, because she doesn't want to confuse it with the ones that she would purchase later. So she needs another onyx. Well, she's not going to be able to get it, because there's only 1 left here. So she will look at what she can purchase. She is going to purchase this diamond here. She'll use her gold to be the other sapphire, the 2 emeralds, and the onyx. So she paid for it. Probably wasn't a good idea to use the gold yet, but now she's acquired this card. Now she has a diamond every turn as a development. So she could put this above here to remind her that she basically has 2 diamonds for later. This one she still hasn't purchased it, so she'll turn that over. Here this flips over. Okay. So looking at what I have 2, 4, 6, 8. what can I go for here? Let me take off the picture-in-picture. She kind of purchased the card I wanted again. So, well, actually, I was going for this one. So here's the 2 onyx, the sapphire, and the 2 ruby. So now I'm working towards getting the 3 emeralds that all nobles would use. Whereas Julie might be thinking, I want diamonds for something up here. Like maybe she want to go for this one, or this one. So she needs a lot of diamonds and also try to get that noble. So I add this to my area. So now I have 2 emeralds, one permanently, that I have my own emerald mine. So now I add this back into the pile, which is good for Julie because now she could take 2 onyx, which is what she will do. Because remember, she has this card she wants to purchase, so she took 2 onyx. All right, so I go. I'm going to try to get a ruby here. I'm going to take a sapphire. I'll take a ruby and a emerald. So I add it to my area. So now I have 3. Now these cards do not count towards your hand limit of 10 tokens. So I have 2, 4, 5, 6. All right, so Julie needs another onyx. She'll take this and an emerald. She has it to her area. She just needs 1 more onyx to get that, to buy that card that's in her hand. Okay, my turn. I need, okay, I have what I need. All right, so to buy this card, I need 2 sapphires. I have it. Does not cost me any emeralds because I have an emerald mine. So all it took was 2 sapphires, add it. So now I'm getting closer to getting either this noble or this noble because they both need sapphires and emeralds. And then I'm getting closer to getting these more expensive cards because this needs, this one and this one needs emeralds and rubies. Same with this one. So that I get the higher point cards, I definitely need more development cards. All right, so back to Julie. Oh, I got to flip up the next card. So Julie is going to take this onyx, a sapphire, and another emerald. Now let's see, is she over? She has 2, 4, okay, 2, 6, 9, 10. She's exactly at 10. So next turn she could take more tokens, but then she would have to return tokens. So she's going to buy something next turn. All right, so for me, all right, so I'm going to try to go for this bigger card here. There's no emeralds right now. I'm hoping Julie will spend some of those emeralds. So I'm going to take this card and make sure that it doesn't, I'm going to make sure I get this and Julie doesn't. So I'm going to take that card, add it to my hand, and then I got a gold with that. So I have 4 if I include that gold. I just need 1 more emerald, and hopefully Julie will spend some emeralds. So let's see if she does. It might not work out for me. So Julie's not, she's going to flip over this card. She has a 4 onyx. So now she has her emerald mine, and she has 1 prestige point. So now she's closer to the 15 that she needs to win. Okay, again, it's a race game. All right, so this goes back in the pile here. So I'm thinking, wow, she didn't spend any emeralds. And there's no emeralds to get here. I don't have enough tokens to get that. I could get this right now and delay purchasing. So I have a choice. I have enough to get this right now. Or I could get another gold. So what I'll do, this is going to give me another emerald. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take another gold and this card. I put it face down. So now I have enough next turn to buy this. Okay, so it's Julie's turn. Julie's going to be going for this noble, so she wants more diamonds. She has the 2 rubies, So if she looks at her cards here, she has the 2 rubies. She doesn't have any onyx, only has 1 sapphire. So she needs onyx if she's going to get more diamonds. So she definitely has to take an onyx. In fact, she'll take 2 because there's 4 in the pile. She still hasn't spent any emeralds. So I'm thinking, wow, this is good that I took gold because she's not spending her emeralds. So this is what can happen in a 2, 3, or 4 player game. Some players can hoard gems and slow you down. You have to come up with a different plan. So here I am. I'm going to spend my 2 gold, my 2 emeralds, and I have my emerald mine. So now I have 2 prestige points. I return all these to the area here. So now I am ahead only by 1 point. Doesn't mean that much in this part of the game. I have 2 prestige points, and Julie has 1 point, which right here. And so that's how the game is played. You take turns getting tokens, spreading your tokens to get development cards, or taking a development card to get 1 gold. There's one other rule that I didn't mention. You do not have to take a face-up card. So if I wanted to do a random one and get a gold, I can do that. And again, I don't have to show the other players, but then as it turns out, I got lucky. If I were to have done this, I just have to get a bunch of sapphires because right now I don't have any development cards with sapphires. So if I would have done that action, it goes in my hand. Remember, I can only have up to 3 of these. And so the point of showing that is that you can draw a random one. So the only other thing you got to keep in mind is that the first player to get 15 prestige points will win. Let's say I did that first, and if I was the first player, Julie would have another turn because you played an equal number of turns. She might only be 1 or 2 points away, and she could come from behind on her last turn to beat me with 16, for instance. So let's say I did have 15 prestige points exactly, and Julie had 13. If she were to acquire this card on her last turn, because I went first and she gets equal number of turns, she would beat me with 13 plus 3, 16. So that can happen. It often does. Is that just because you race to be the first to get 15, the other players still get their other turn, get an equal number of turns, and they could come behind and beat you. So that is how to play Splendor. Hopefully you get a chance, like I said, to check out the playthrough and the review. And if we get 100 likes, we will play the expansion. There's an expansion that's out for Splendor, so please like and subscribe. So I'm David.